Hi guys, welcome to the newest video about the hydrosphere. This week's video is really fresh because it's all about the fresh water on Earth. So you should remember that most of Earth's water is salty. Saline means salty. It has high salinity and it can't be used for us as humans. 3% of Earth's water can be used by us, and most of it is in ice caps, a little bit underground, and then a tiny bit is on the surface, which is what we see in lakes and wetlands and rivers. Let's talk first about glaciers because it's 68.7% of the fresh water, most of the fresh water on Earth. You guys know that glaciers are frozen fresh water. And some of you had the question of, if we melt this water that's in these glaciers, can we use it as a usable source of water? So let's think about that. This glacier is here in Iceland. Iceland is surrounded by an ocean, and so of course we know that oceans are salty. So let's look at this glacier for a second. This glacier is mostly under the water, most icebergs are, but it's getting really hot because all of this carbon dioxide is floating around in the atmosphere. We should remember from last year that carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas and it's causing heat to get trapped inside of Earth's atmosphere. So these molecules are carbon dioxide, 1 carbon, 2 oxygens, and they're causing all of this ice to melt and become mixed in with this salt water. So even though the water that's melting off of the ice is fresh, it's falling into the salt water and it's going to become salty too because it's mixing in. And that means that we won't be able to use it. So moral of the story is that global warming isn't going to give us more usable fresh water. It's only going to give us higher levels of ocean water, which is not usable for us. Now let's talk about groundwater. Groundwater is the water that is underground. It's about 30% of the water on Earth. And this is a diagram that shows what it looks like underneath the Earth. So Earth is divided into all these layers of different types of sediments. These are wells. So if your house is on well water, then this is kind of what it looks like underneath where your well goes. You have this loose soil, sand, gravel, clay, and solid rock. Some of these things are aquifers and others are called aquatards. So an aquifer is anything that allows water to pass through. Water can pass. And an aquatard is the opposite of that. So out of these here, we have some that are aquifers and some that are aquatards. The aquifers are this loose soil, sand, gravel, and that's it. The other two are clay and solid rock. They are aquatards, which means that water's not going to pass through them. This blue line is called the water table. And that is the area where water has saturated these levels that are below the water table. So the loose soil is not saturated by water, which means that this well number 1 over here, would not be getting any water because it's not below the water table. Now, of course, this water table can rise or fall depending on if there's a time of drought or a time where there's a lot of rain. And so let's say there's a really bad drought and the water table drops all the way down to, let's say here. If the water table is that low, then all of a sudden this well isn't getting any water, and neither is this well, and neither is this well. Now this well is in an aquatard, so it doesn't get any water anyways. because water isn't going to flow through this level into this well. Now let's talk about the final section of water that's fresh, the water that we all know and love, the surface water. So this is your fresh prince of water. This is a river basin, and it's important to talk about the difference between a watershed and a river basin. This whole thing, this whole picture here is a river basin, and it includes a watershed. So the big river basin is a watershed, but there are also small watersheds in this larger river basin. So a watershed is any part of land where precipitation falls and that precipitation drains into a larger body of water. In this case, it would be a river. A river basin is all of the land that flows into one large river. So a watershed could be flowing into a lake or a wetland or a river, and a river basin would only flow into a large river. So they're very similar and sometimes used interchangeably, but watersheds can be smaller than river basins. Also important are these tributaries. Tributaries are just tiny parts of rivers that flow into a larger river. A confluence is where the river connects, so this would also be a confluence, and this and this. The source of the river is the start, and the mouth of the river is the end. And often the source of the river might be in a mountain, but not always. So here is our North Carolina map of river basins. We have talked already about how we are here in the Neuse River Basin. Here's Raleigh. If you don't live in Raleigh, you live somewhere around this area. And we're technically considered to be in the Upper Neuse River Basin, which is up here. This is considered to be the Lower Neuse. And the Neuse River is flowing into this Pamlico Sound down here, which is what we've been talking about in our Fishkill mystery. Here's just a larger image of an estuary. They start out fresh because they're a river and become salty because they're flowing into the ocean. These are barrier islands, which we have here in North Carolina. You may have visited them. In the middle here are marshes, which can be salty or fresh. And then the water that's in the actual estuary is called brackish, which is a mix of salt and fresh. Estuaries are these really nutrient-rich areas, which means that they have a lot of life, but they also can become contaminated and can get algae blooms really easily because of this. So here's, we are here, and we're looking at this map, this graph, and it's telling us where our nutrients in our estuaries are coming from. You can see in North Carolina, it's a lot of farmland fertilizer and a lot of livestock waste, which makes sense because North Carolina is known for its hog farms and its crops, corn, cotton, soybeans, sweet potatoes. Eastern North Carolina is a really important agricultural area in the United States. And then these are all the areas that are wetlands in North Carolina. You can see that they aren't just near the beach, they're also closer to Raleigh. We have some wetlands around here. You probably have seen land that looks like this or like this, and these can be either salty or fresh, also sometimes brackish. What's interesting about them is that they're really important in preventing erosion because of all the plants that live there. They also can help with preventing contamination from stormwater runoff. When there's a lot of rain and it washes these contaminants that are on our streets and near our houses into the water, these wetlands are really good natural filters. All right, that's it for this time. Remember to help keep your glaciers happy, keep them cool. Like, subscribe, and keep yourself cool too. Thanks for watching.